Gurmahagat Ceann Comhairle, and Happy New Year to all in the House. Minister Humphreys, you and your government are presiding over an abject failure on housing. This failure is devastating, particularly for those 13,514 people, including 4,000 children, who are in homelessness. And that's a shameful record, a record figure and a shameful record. And the housing crisis is impacting also on the hundreds of thousands of young adults living out of childhood bedrooms, on the many thousands who are emigrating to Australia, to other countries every year to find homes of their own. And it's affecting the thousands of people, including people I meet in my constituency every week, who are stuck in a rental poverty trap and who cannot now see themselves ever owning a home of their own. So your housing failure is also affecting other policies, other services that the state should and could be providing. Minister, we have a chronic shortage of teachers in our schools. We all know this. We have a chronic shortage of carers and educators in our childcare settings, a real difficulty in recruiting medical staff for our hospitals. And the reason, in large part, because so many people cannot afford to live anywhere near their workplace or anywhere within a reasonable distance. And of course, the abject failure in housing is also affecting other things too. It's affecting our response to the humanitarian challenge that we're facing because of the brutal war in Ukraine and because of the many wars and conflicts around the world which are forcing so many people to flee to our shores seeking refuge. Minister, we've always been a land of welcomes, a land from which so many of our own so-called unvetted males and females had to flee to find a better life in England and Australia and America and elsewhere. We know the Irish diaspora now exceeds our own population on this island by a factor of 10. So now that those seeking refuge from war or persecution are coming to our shores, we must offer a real welcome to them, just as we offer a welcome to those who come here to work, to share their experience and their expertise, who drive our buses, who work in our hospitals and who make our societies better. And the reality is, across Ireland, in the last 2 years since that invasion of Ukraine began, our communities have offered a welcome to the many thousand people who have fled here. Only in a small number of cases have we seen protests or opposition to new arrivals. And I do want to condemn outright the small number of very serious criminal actions we've seen committed even in recent weeks, as far as arson, but also violence, intimidation, assault and threats. And it's disappointing to see even government party elected officials undermining the welcome effort. I'm thinking of Mayo County Council's vote last night, for example. But Minister, the reality is there is no refugee crisis. It's wrong to characterise it in that way. We do have a housing crisis, and that is adding to the challenge of finding accommodation for our new arrivals. And Minister, you've said it yourself in response to the earlier question. The answer is we do need to build more homes. You said it. We need to increase the supply of our housing stock. And we're hearing it from families living in hotel rooms, renters facing eviction, parents desperate to see their young people staying here and not moving to Melbourne or Perth. So, Minister, why won't your government take on the necessary ambition and urgency to deliver the homes that you acknowledge are so badly needed? And why won't you adopt the credible targets for delivery of housing that we've heard just in the last week the construction industry stakeholders calling for? We've heard the SRI calling for it. Why won't your government adopt credible targets for delivery of housing?
Minister.
Thank you, Gurmahagat, and thank you, Deputy. The Housing for All target for this year is to build 33,450 new homes. And I do accept that there is a gap between the existing target and what's needed. And in the past, we didn't have the capacity to deliver, but that capacity is increasing all the time. We need to have an informed process in setting new targets. The Department of Housing are working with the ESRI on research which will inform the national and geographical needs based on our population growth. And we need to build more houses, but we need to build them in the right places. The Taoiseach, he wants our targets to be ambitious, and I think that's a good thing. The final figures for last year will probably show that around 33,000 new homes were built, but that's the highest since the crash. Construction began on over 3,400 homes last month alone, and that's a 90% increase year on year. So we're making substantial progress, but of course we do need to do more. Minister Darragh O'Brien is working day and night, I have to say, when it comes to increasing housing supply. And when he gets the research data, he's going to set out the revised targets. We're now seeing a major housing developments all across the country. Planning permissions, commencements, mortgage approvals, and all of those indicators, they're all going in the right direction. A huge amount of work is being done to tackle vacant and derelict properties, and you have the vacant home grant of up to 70,000, and we know how extremely popular that is. I also, I see myself. You've seen houses that have been derelict for years and years and years. They're now being transformed into new homes for young people, breathing new life into our towns and villages and into our rural areas as well. It's a grant that's proving to be very popular, and I know more and more people are looking at renovating existing homes, especially in the towns where you have the services, so that certainly makes sense to do that. When we entered government in 2011, the problem was ghost estates and a huge negative equity. The sector, as we all know, was decimated. It has been built back up, and there have been a lot of challenges in the interim. We have the challenge of Brexit, we had COVID, we had the war in Ukraine, we had inflation, and last year alone we saw the highest number of new bills since that crash. Government policies are working. We need to do more, accept that, and we will do more, and new targets will need to be based on data, as I said, and population growth. So more houses in the right places, and the SRI research is actually due out next month, and I know that Minister O'Brien will be bringing updated targets, and they will be announced shortly after he receives that report. And I have no doubt that they will be ambitious.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Batchik.
Well, Minister, no amount of spin can hide the reality, which is that we're just not building enough houses. And I think your answer acknowledges that. And construction industry stakeholders themselves point out that without credible targets, we'll simply never meet the delivery that we need to do for our growing population. We've heard it from across industry over the weekend, the Construction Industry Federation confirming there's capacity and a need for 60,000 new builds per year. I've been hearing now from the Taoiseach for months that the Housing for All targets are too low and that they will be revised and updated. So I'm asking precisely, when will we see the new revised targets, and will they meet that really clear level of need? This time last year in Labour we called for 50,000 new builds per year, and we also pointed out that we will need to see 50,000 deep retrofit and refurbishments a year in order to address that vacancy and dereliction crisis that you mentioned. Those figures have been borne out by reports from the SRI, by calls from Sherry Fitzgerald, Dr Ronan Lyons. How many times does government need to be told? Your targets are not credible currently, and we will never meet the level of need that is out there until we adopt credible targets and until we see a housing plan from government that is sufficiently ambitious and sufficiently urgent to deliver the homes that our people so badly need.
Minister.
Thank you, and thank you, Deputy. We are exceeding our targets every year. Every year we're building more and more and more houses, and we will continue to do that. You do acknowledge that capacity was a problem. That has been built up. A lot of work has gone into upskilling, retraining young people into the construction sector. So it is working, and I said very clearly that Minister O'Brien is expecting the ESRI research, that they're expecting that report next month, and updated targets will be brought to government at that stage. And I have no doubt they will be ambitious, because we have exceeded. But there's no point last year setting a target that's unrealistic. We set targets, we have exceeded them, and it is our intention to be ambitious, because we all know we need more houses, and that's what this government is committed to doing, providing more houses so people can have their own home that they want to buy and live in.
Deputy Boyd Barrett.